going to go ahead and get started, and then as people join in, I'll just kind of give them the update on what's happening. We have the chat if you guys need to post questions, or if we don't have a lot of people on, feel free to just like pop in and out. We are going to be focusing on a little bit on Seesaw, but actually mostly on lesson design. So I have a website for you guys if you feel comfortable navigating between two screens. And I added a web page to our NTI page. I didn't want to make this all about Seesaw, just about how you might wrap it up inside of Seesaw. So when we think about lesson format and considerations inside of this NTI stuff, our distance learning, e-learning, we want to think about ways that we can engage students in a topic, have them explore the topic, explain, create, and then connect and share. And that looks different at all grade levels. It looks different at kindergarten versus second grade. So I have like a sample lesson, thanks to a couple teachers, that we're going to look at for each of those. With engage, we want to pique interest in the topic. For explore, the teachers at primary level would be giving students resources to look at. It might be your textbook, it might be Wonders, it might be Pebble Go, it could be Brain Pop, any of those things that you would typically use during the day. For explain, that's when you're going to kind of dip into some of those literature standards or informational reading standards and have students look at things like key details from a text, main idea, and that sort of thing. For create, we'd be looking for ways that students might create a small project or product to demonstrate their understanding. And then we would have them connect and share it either on Seesaw or maybe on Teams, depending on how comfortable you feel with that platform. So when we're designing digital instruction, we want to consider the time on task. So Jody and Brian and I really talked a lot about time on task and what's appropriate, because we're finding that kids are just totally disengaging after a certain amount of time. So I reached out to Aaron Wagner, who's kind of like my go-to expert on child development. And I was like, what is the amount of time we can expect students to be on task? And she gave me a really nice graphic that I can share out. I didn't put it here, but she said we can expect students to engage in time on task for approximately 2 to 5 minutes per year of age. So that means that our 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds are looking at 10 to 12 minutes. Now with this, and you guys probably know that, you switch your stuff up quickly at kindergarten level, right? But when we think about that, I think with NTI, it's probably even shorter, So I might go down to time on task to between 2 to 5 minutes, or 2 minutes, or right at 2 minutes, because kids just cannot right now stay on task. So as you're designing your lessons and you're thinking about how long it should take them to think of things, for kindergarten, think each task they do needs to be shorter than 10 minutes just to make sure we're getting quality time. So that's just a gauge. You'll obviously need to do what's right for you and your students and what you see they're producing well. If they're producing on 15 minutes of time on task, then perfect, go for it. But just keep that in mind. We also want to design our lessons for all our digital learners. So including audio and video directions, which you guys I know are doing a great job of in Seesaw, using audio and video. Keep your directions short. I know that my little guy can maybe last about a minute on directions before he all of a sudden gets up and wanders away. And I'm like, whoa, the video is still playing. Get back here. So make sure that you're keeping your video directions on the short side. Use images that relate to content for second graders for sure. They probably appreciate images a lot. And video directions should only be about a minute per grade level to have students really engaged in those directions. I will say use videos like Brain Pop. I think they engage with Brain Pop a little bit longer than they do other content. So really raid Brain Pop for good video content to use. PBS Learning Media also has a lot of great stuff like Clifford clips and social emotional stuff with Daniel Tiger. You can get so many great video clips with from PBS Learning Media. So that would be another place to go. You definitely want to make it active, meaning that they should be doing something with the information. So if you have a My Brain Pop account, you might assign for them to take the quiz. Or you might have them, if they're in second grade, jot down some key details from something that they're watching. We want to organize our content for success, and that's really what I'm going to be focusing on here. Use information, use visuals that will help students move through the content. You'll want to clearly label tasks, use bold things, use numbers. Like if you want students to do something first, put a 1 next to it really big, or add a different color to it to make it look different. Also think about how your stuff is posting on your Seesaw stream. I've noticed that like a lot of times what's at top, like maybe the teacher posted something and I would hope that that would appear at the top of the stream when I wake up in the morning. But sometimes like somebody came in after them and posted. So it might be good to coordinate with your specials teachers about what time things are getting posted, so that if you think, gosh, I want my students to see my message first in the morning because I'm going to give them a rundown, then you would ask, tell your specials teachers, by 8 o'clock at night, I'm going to have my stuff posted. Could you post yours before so that it appears down further in the stream? I don't know if that makes sense, but I just think them seeing you front and center in the morning really helps them. You also want a very formative assessment, meaning maybe give them choice, use graphic organizers, consider Flipgrid. That might not be totally one of the tools that you're using in primary, but your Teams meetings could be a great way to count that as a formative assessment for a small group. You might also consider things like sketch notes as another opportunity. All right, so I do want to kind of go through some primary lesson samples that I think do a good job of showing a lot of those different features of a text. So the first one I have is a template that Katie Lefton came up with, and this is a HyperDoc / Smashboard that organizes the work for students every day. So every day when my guy gets on, he watches her daily video. This appears in Seesaw. He clicks on this, and it takes him to a daily video where Katie has made a little clips video, and she gives them the absolute rundown on what's happening. And then he presses this home button, and he goes back, and he knows that he has to do for this day reading, science, math, phonics. And then the stuff below might be like restful reading is a lot of times a to-do, technology, or a choice, and technology might be a choice. But he can click on this and find out what he has to do or what special he has. So for example, if he's going to do reading, he would click more direction on what she's expecting. If he has to upload something to Seesaw, she will tell him, upload it to Seesaw. So in theory, my kindergartners should be able to just watch these videos, do the work, and return. And it makes the kindergartners more independent, and it helps them organize their day. So if I just press this home button back, they just see clearly through a Seesaw post each of the things that they have to do. And Katie was nice enough to share her template. So if you click here on this template, you can make a copy of this and customize it and give it a try yourself. At the end of this session, I'm going to hop over to Seesaw and show you how that works. Okay. I also made a first grade sample, and this sort of goes with that engage, explore, explain, create, and connect, and share model. With this one, it would be like a sound lesson, but it combines all of the possible topics they might be covering for the day. So if I just advance to the next slide, it uses that hyperlink model like you see in Katie's lesson, where the students would click on one, and this is watch. And watch would be like the engage feature of a lesson design. So when you click on one, it gives you directions to go to Brain Pop and watch a Brain Pop on sound and then take a quiz. And here I've left a little area for you to do like a quick video that explains what students should do. If you have My Brain Pop, I would suggest that you assign it through My Brain Pop so you can check and see if they've done that. And then they would just press home and go back. Now the next one is read. So this is how they can get in their reading component. You don't have to do science, read an article, like science could be reading for the day. And Katie does that a lot. So if I press 2 for read, this tells them to go to Pebble Go. And I've put a little icon on here, like as a visual for them to see where to go. And I've also color coded things. All the colors are plum so that they can see that they're in the right step. For write, they might write key details. And here you could have them actually practice handwriting, because practicing handwriting is super important, and they could upload the picture to Seesaw. Or you might suggest that they pull an activity, or you might pull an activity from Seesaw and have them do a writing activity about sound in Seesaw. If we go back to home again, this is how you can pull your specials teachers into the mix. Some of the feedback I'm hearing is that, like, it's a big departure from everything else that we're doing to suddenly be doing art or to suddenly be doing music, which is super valuable. However, think about how much more valuable that could be for students if it was integrated within the lesson. So if you were doing a thematic day on sound for your class, you might ask your specials teacher, hey, how might students use art to engage the sound? Or how might they use music? That feels like a no-brainer. Or how might PE support sound with rhythm? And Spanish, maybe they can teach sound words. So this might be a really good way to embed the specials curriculum right into yours by working with your specials teacher. And you would just invite the specials teacher to this document, and they could import their little video that explains what the students should do and talk about how the whole thing is about sound. Okay, if I go back, the last thing that students would do maybe in first grade is a create activity where they choose what to create. And these would be something that they might be drawn to based on ability. So our students who are really like gifted and talented might decide with their families to build an instrument, or if they're wanting a little tech stretch, they might create a book about the topic. And including like a quick how-to video might be enough for a first grader to watch and just go and run with it and then come back and upload their project to Seesaw. I would expect that this creation kind of thing might take, like 2 or 3 days. They might not be turning that in that day unless they're super pumped about the topic. And they could come back to this later. So, this is a way to like organize content for a multi-day process or a daily process. I started a little later. Talking about the multi-day step, Stephanie Perkins for second grade organized a week's worth of writing instruction using the same format that Katie did. So I'm going to click them the whole rundown of what's going to happen. And then students just each day click on a different step of the writing process. So for Monday, they would click on step 1. And they would watch a video from Stephanie about how to brainstorm, and they would see her modeling how to brainstorm the writing. And then they would write their own brainstorm. And then they just press home and go back to the steps, and they can then go to step 2. Again, see a video, practice, upload their practice to Seesaw, and they can just move through the steps. Now, if a student is a little quicker at writing, they might move through multiple steps on a day. Or if they are struggling or a developing writer, they might just do the one step or break the step even down into further steps. So it's a nice way for them to kind of self-differentiate if they need to. And the final step, Stephanie has them produce their entire draft that they upload to Seesaw, and she by this point even lets them use voice to text to get that into Seesaw, which is kind of a nice activity that they can do. So this is a really great way to show students the whole process that they're going to use to do a longer project. Let's talk about how you get those Google Slides presentations that you've made into Seesaw. I'm not going to spend time going through how to make one of these because I have another video that I will be sure to share with you that shows you the steps. To get this into Seesaw, what you're going to do is you'll go to your slides document that you've created. You're going to go to File, Publish to the Web, and then it will create a link for you, and you're going to copy that link, and then you'll pop open Seesaw, press Add, Post Student Work, Link, paste your link in, press your green check, and you're going to skip this part where it says go to Add File and just press Continue. and then you can press the check. If you need to, go ahead and send it to all students or specific students, press your green check again. If you have a folder you want it to go into, choose that folder, press the green check, and it will upload that to your feed. And the students will see this right there at the top, and they can click to open and then navigate through. Like the HyperDoc, it was like a 10-minute video I did a couple weeks ago, explains how to create those and how to do it step by step. But that's something I certainly can work with you on creating a template and help you get into the whole mix of doing it. You know, I would try as we get out, like after spring break, to maybe talk to your specialist teachers and think about ways that you could incorporate their expertise into your daily or weekly lesson plans. Because I think the more our parents at home can see how everything is interconnected, the more that they're going to appreciate what you guys do, you know, as in terms of planning. And I think the kids will see the connection, and really it'll enrich their whole experience.